The Bank of Canada has recently just launched a public consultation on the possibility of creating a brand new digital version of the Canadian dollar. So in this video, we'll be speaking about the details of this proposal and what it could mean for the future of cash and cryptocurrency here in Canada. Now, it should be noted that this isn't coming out of left field. The Bank of Canada has been considering the possibility of a digital dollar for several years, since as far back as 2013. And this is in response to the decline in physical cash transactions and the growth in electronic payment systems and cryptocurrencies as the years have progressed. And I know a lot of people do still use cash for everyday purchases, but I personally haven't held banknotes regularly in over a decade. I'd love to know though, do you use cash daily? Let me know down in the comments. But now, this past Monday, the Bank of Canada launched its first public consultation on the issue that you can find and participate in on their website, asking how Canadians might use a digital dollar and what security and privacy features they would want to include. So yeah, if you do want to participate in this online survey after watching my video, it will run until June 19th. Now let's dive a little bit deeper into the topic of central bank-backed digital dollars and what they mean for citizens. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. Alright, so central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs for short, which is what's being proposed here by the Bank of Canada, are a form of digital currency that is backed by a central bank and essentially hold the same value as the national currency. Now, they do differ though from traditional cryptocurrencies and other forms of private digital money in that they're intended to be a one-to-one digital version of a unit of currency, in this case Canadian dollars, with the same kind of guarantees that physical banknotes have, at least in theory. At the moment, there are 11 countries that have launched CBDCs, including the Bahamas and Nigeria, while other countries such as Australia, Sweden, China, and India are conducting pilot programs to assess the viability of such a system in their own countries. At their core though, with the rise of cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other coins, along with private money backed by technology companies posing as potential competition to central currencies, CBDCs are governmental responses to the changing economic and monetary landscape that we're now faced with as a society. And really, although touted to have other benefits, the number one main reason for implementation is that they offer a way for central banks to maintain further control over the money supply and ensure that they remain relevant in an increasingly digital world. And although most of our money supply already exists digitally as numbers on a screen really, rather than banknotes in a mattress, monetary policymakers are somewhat concerned that a further decline in physical cash use could further threaten their position at the center of the payment system in a given country and potentially lead to unequal access to payment methods. At least that's what they're stating. Always remember though that control, especially here in Canada, is very often the desired outcome for any new legislation that comes into place. Just take a look at Bill C-11, for example, on streaming and media. Alright, now if the Bank of Canada does decide to move forward though with the creation of a digital dollar, they state that it would function much like a traditional currency. Canadians would be able to use it to make digital transactions just like they would with a credit card or any other form of online digital payment. So with that in mind, the Bank of Canada is stating that they're exploring the idea of a digital dollar for several reasons, including the following. One of the main reasons is to provide Canadians with a safe and reliable digital payment option that is, once again, backed by the government, which they state could be especially useful for people who don't necessarily have access to traditional banking services or who might just prefer to use digital payment methods. In fact, the Bank of Canada stated in a news release that, quote, "There may come a time when banknotes are not widely used in day-to-day transactions, which could risk excluding many Canadians from taking part in the economy." Now, personally, I think this is a bit of a stretch because, again, in the digital world that we live in, most of all the money earned and spent is digital anyways. In fact, only around 5% of the money supply here in Canada is currency out in circulation, while deposits at financial institutions account for 95%. So, although not a precise way necessarily of looking at things, the point is that almost everyone keeps their money digital and in bank accounts. Additionally, one of the potential benefits of a government-backed digital currency would be increased security. So since a digital dollar would be backed by the government, it could be a more reliable and secure form of payment than other digital currencies, at least, that are traded on private exchanges. Additionally, all transactions would be tracked directly by the government, similar to how all transactions in and out of registered investment accounts are already being tracked. So this could definitely provide an added layer of transparency and security for users. With that being said, some experts have argued that increased government surveillance could be a potential drawback of a digital dollar, because a digital dollar would be, again, backed by the government. It would also, of course, be subject to increased monitoring and surveillance, which could raise some concerns about privacy and civil liberties. For example, this would make it even easier for the government moving forward, if they chose to implement this, to freeze assets and accounts, such as what we've seen over the course of the past 2 years, where a lot of Canadians lost trust really in the way the government dealt with Canadian rights and freedoms when it came to their money. Another potential concern is the risk of increased financial instability, where if the Bank of Canada were to issue out a digital dollar, it would very well disrupt the existing financial system and lead to increased volatility in the markets. At least in theory, it could. And I believe it's on this point that a bit more explanation needs to be made here, as I think a lot of people may be somewhat confused as to how a digital currency would differ from the digital money that we're already using in our everyday lives. So from the standpoint of accessing and using your money, it would probably be quite similar. But the difference is that your money would be held directly with the Bank of Canada, or the government essentially, rather than being held through a private financial institution like the big banks, RBC, Scotiabank, TD, or what have you. So of course, these banks work closely though with the government to maintain economic stability, but the point is, you wouldn't need to go through a middleman for your everyday transactions, where these banks make a lot of revenue. So I could very well see large financial institutions lobbying the government and try to stop this from happening. That said, mortgages and loans would still primarily be held and issued by large financial institutions, which is where most of the real money is made for these large banks. So I don't think this would pose a problem anytime soon. In summary, the Bank of Canada's consultation on a digital dollar is an important development in the world of Canadian government-backed digital currencies. And while there are some potential benefits to creating a digital dollar, there are also, of course, some potential drawbacks that must be carefully considered. Ultimately, though, it will be up to the federal government, not the Bank of Canada, to decide whether a digital dollar is the right choice for the country. But they are also consulting the public for their input. Again, the public consultation currently underway will help to inform the bank's decision, and it will be interesting to see how the conversation evolves over the coming weeks and months. Make sure to let me know down in the comments what you think of the potential implementation of a digital Canadian dollar, and let the Bank of Canada know also by filling out their survey. By the way, if you want $25 worth of free Bitcoin, make sure to check out my link down below in the description to Newton, where you can open an account and trade $100 worth of crypto in order to get $25 for free. Make sure you don't miss out on that promotion. If you enjoyed today's video, please take a second to drop a like on the video. And if you want to see more personal finance and investing content, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell button for more upcoming content. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.